Hello and welcome to today's episode of Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm your host Sam and I'm back again with a very exciting episode that is lined up for you today. So before diving into today's topic and announcing the name of our very special guest, here's a very important disclaimer. That is by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. So, use of information is at your own risk. So, folks, once again, welcome back to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm your host, Sam. And today we are diving into a very critical and timely discussion. That is, how will the Trump's administration impact EB2 NIW, EB1A, and asylum applications? So, as we all know, folks, that immigration policies have been a very significant, we have seen a very significant changes in recent years, and also understanding how these changes affect highly skilled workers, individuals of extraordinary ability, and those seeking asylum is more important than ever. So, to explain and clear all your doubts and to guide you on the right path, we have an expert with us today. Please join me in welcoming attorney Amin Yacoub, an expert in immigration law with an impressive track record, with a strong background in litigation. And before his current role at Bogan Months and Months, Mr. Yacoub ran his own solo practice, helping clients navigate complex immigration and litigation challenges. As an EB2 exceptional ability and NIW immigrant himself, Amin understands firsthand the complexities of the immigration process. His personal experience drives his passion for delivering top notch legal representation to his clients, ensuring not only quality but also efficiency. With a nearly 99% approval rate in securing EB2 NIW and EB1 visas for his clients, Mr. Yacoub is a true leader in the field. So, first of all, welcome to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, and it's an honor to have a show with you. How are you doing?
Good, and thank you for the kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, and it's an honor, to have a show with you, and we are really grateful that you are here with us. So, thank you so much for joining us. And also, I would like to ask that before diving into today's topic and going to talk about today's episode, I would like to know that were you expecting Trump to be back in White House?
Yes, I did actually. I would say I did expect him to be back when Musk, especially, joined forces with Trump, because Musk hasn't failed yet in any of his endeavors. So it meant a lot when he joined forces, and he was like giving $1 million a day to people and stuff like that. So it's just I felt like he's going to come back to office to correct the economy as well. So people are feeling it here in the U.S. and feel like they need to have a better economy, and that is usually the number one drive for the presidential election in the U.S.
All right. So, I would also like to ask that how do you think that under Trump's era, how do you see the future of US? Do you think it will be a new era or a nightmare for US?
Yeah, I think we've seen Trump before, so it's not like we're just exploring a new candidate here. So we've seen him from 2017 up to 2021, and it was, 2016 up to 2020, and it was not a bad year at all. Was the economy went up and everything was, in terms of immigration, nothing actually changed during his era. I would say Americans were, at least according to polls, were feeling satisfied with the economy. Were feeling satisfied with the low mortgage rates, interest rates, and everyone had kind of a chance in applying for jobs and having employment in Trump's era. But of course, people blame the COVID-19 2020 on what happened during Biden's administration. But my point is, it's just the last period that we actually witnessed Trump doing work as a president of the US. He was not as bad as the media might actually show. And it's all like a political fight in the US. Media is trying to show a picture of Trump. He's like anti-immigration and anti people who are willing to actually help the U.S. be a better country. And that's not true. And that's why I'm interested in talking about immigration under Trump, because it's a completely unpopular opinion if compared to whatever is going on the media or whatever is going on the newspapers. So that's how you. So the other party here is the Democratic Party. uh, Everyone tries to influence the public somehow so that they vote for them, so that they actually get them to the seats of power. So we just have to be neutral and watch closely and wisely in order to see what is true and what's not true.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, as you mentioned, that media has portrayed Trump in a little different way. And we can see that, even when Trump was serving food to in McD, then also that, that social media post just spread like fire. And it was also giving a different opinion that he's serving because he wants vote, or there was some kind of other opinion, that people were portraying in a different, actually in a little negative way. And
Yeah,
on the other side, if we look upon the Democrats, then I would say that for Democrats, the media was a bit lenient. They were more supportive, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that's why. But also, I would like to know from your side that can you be a little specific about that why Trump won in this election? Instead of, as media plays a huge role, and what media was portraying, that what people believe, but out of that also, people supported Trump and made him choose him the leader. So can you please go ahead and share the reasons behind it?
Yeah, so you're asking about my personal reasons why Trump is coming back, not the objective reasons here, or
That's
not.
okay, you can give your reason.
Yeah. So again, Trump is a businessman. He has more knowledge about the economy and how it works. And we have seen, so that's kind of objective and subjective at the same time. We've seen Trump before doing his job as a president from 2017 up to 2021. And we have seen the vice president, Kamala Harris, doing her job as a vice president from 2021 up until now. So when we compare both candidates, we basically see two people who are not new people to us. They have been in power, they have been doing things, so we can just observe and see, was the economy better under the first or the second one? Was every aspect? So what was immigration better and faster for under the first presidential candidate or under the second vice president who's currently still in office? And by doing that, just a simple analysis to me, it seems kind of obvious that we can see that actually Trump, even asylum, nobody would actually wonder that. It's like asylum was much faster under Trump, and I'm talking about affirmative asylum. So that's an immigration issue, and of course, this is one of the biggest uh, portions of the policy of Trump. So he's not anti-immigration; he's anti-illegal immigration. So he's what he wants to do is to vet people coming in so that he focuses all the efforts, all the efficiency of USCIS on legal immigrants and basically move things faster. In 2017 up to 2021, what we usually had happened was they actually accepted people in asylum in 5 6 months. They scheduled an interview in 5 6 months. Now an interview would be scheduled in 6 years. So we are seeing a completely different era in immigration under Biden's administration. And everyone is so panicking about Trump. Everyone is so panicking about Trump and immigration. Again, because of the media here. So that's why, I feel like it's important to actually show what is true and what's not. And my opinion, may convince you or not, but I'm relying on data here and I'm relying on statistics as well. Approval rates of EB2 NIW and EB1A. under Trump's administration and under Biden's administration. So hopefully that will be useful, and hopefully that will actually make immigrants relax a little bit when they think about applying for EB2 NIW or EB1A under Trump, not under Biden, because everyone is so panicking right now. And I want to say, do not panic. This is not going to be worse. I think it's going to be much better actually for you.
Wow, that's great. I think this is really insightful, and this conversation, I'm loving it from my side. And also, I mean, before delving into the questions that we have prepared for today's topic, there's one more question that's intriguing in my mind. That do you think, as Trump says, that there will be a mass deportation from the very first day that he'll be joining the office in 2025? So, do you think that that will happen because there are millions of people and practically that's not possible? So,
Yeah.
what's your call on that?
So is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Is it practically possible? Possible? I don't think so. He tried to do the same thing in the first year he actually took office in 2017, and he couldn't. And when he's saying mass deportation, again, we have to be very specific about what kind of population he's actually trying to deport. So anyone who has legal papers is not subject to this mass deportation. But anyone who has entered the country without any legal papers, without a visa, and they entered through the borders and they came to the US unvetted, probably he will do his best to deport these people. Now, there is a status in between, which is people would actually come through the borders and try to obtain a legal status. So the question becomes, what happens to those in between people? So they would be in a safer condition than those who actually came to the US and remained without papers. And you would be surprised. We actually have many unvetted people coming through the borders. And I don't think that's wrong to actually, make a legal move regarding undocumented uh, immigrants or people who have never respected a rule in the immigration law. I think that happens normally in all countries around the world. So no country actually allows anyone to come in. You have to have a visa. So it's not like something out of the ordinary here. But if you do have paper, no one is going to be able to touch you because you have to be before a court, which we call procedural due process, before an administration, whether Trump or anyone else, actually has any decision over you or deporting you. So if he decided to deport someone with legal papers, let's say a CO8 pending asylum status, then he would actually advise USCIS to refer them or defer them to court. And once they're referred to the immigration court, then they would have what we call a day at the court. So they can represent themselves, they can have an attorney. And if they won the case, they're going to be remaining here in the US legally. If they lost the case, then they will be deported back to their home countries. So that's important to clear some, again, complexities regarding the mass deportation and the media, hyperbole statements that's like, just people are leaving, people are going to be, Trump is going to basically take people, arrest them, and remove them from the US, all immigrants. So generalization is not accurate here. And it's important to distinguish between all these strata of people and immigrants in the US.
All right, that's great. So thank you so much, Amin, for explaining that and taking that question up. Now I would like to shift our shift our eyes on this topic, that how will the Trump administration impact EB2 NIW, EB1A, and asylum applications? So, I mean, my first question to you is that how might the Trump administration focus on merit based immigration affect the adjudication process for EB2 NIW and EB1A applications?
Yeah, so that's one of the most important questions that we actually get on a daily basis right now. So, how would he impact those kind of policies? So first, we have to distinguish between what he can do and what he cannot do. So as a president, he is having very specific authorities that he actually allowed to do. So, for example, we have the matter of Donasar right now, which is the landmark decision behind the EB2 national interest waiver. Is he allowed or is he authorized under law to basically reverse a court decision? That's a no here. So the answer is no. Is he allowed to change immigration law, the ENA Act of 1990, which actually put forward the national interest waiver, the EB2, and most employment based immigration visas? The answer is no, because Congress has the authority to actually put it, reverse it or change it, amend it with a majority of votes, which is very, very difficult to do because we have, again, even if we have right now a Republican Congress, we still have people who are believing in the immigration under Republicans and under Democrats. So people would be rejecting any kind of change or radical change, I would say, to the ENA Act itself, which has been existing since 1990. So, what kind of impact would Trump be able to do to immigration? Would be direct impact. So, even though he has control over the borders, he can actually advise Homeland Security to not allow people in. He doesn't have much control over USCIS except as directive opinion. So he would be giving a directive statement to USCIS saying, well, please try your best to do better when it comes to evaluating the national interest waiver or whatever. And my idea, again, would be that he would actually broaden the scope, not as people think, that he would actually make it exclusive to scholars or scientists. And I believe so because he even suggested to give a green card to everyone who's graduating college from the US. So what we're seeing right now is Trump is probably pro legal immigration for the talented, for the people who are actually making a difference to the U.S. And people who are making a difference would be called, the EB2 NIW applicants and EB1A extraordinary ability applicants. So probably I would actually expect some broadness, and that is going to be broadening this kind of categories. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. I'm not the only immigration attorney who thinks so. So people who are versed in the field actually agree with me. I believe he is going to be giving directives to USCIS to accept more applications under EB2 NIW and EB1A if really the person is going to be making a difference. And that question remains a question to be answered in the case itself, in the petition and the exhibits. So whether a person is going to be making a difference or not is basically proved in a case, which is usually like 200 up to 400, 600 pages of documentation. So it's a completely objective um, way of evaluating what Trump is about to do here regarding the EB2 NIW and EB1A applications. And I think they're going to be much better than right now, even though we do have a direction from Biden's administration when he took office to try to grant as many EB2 NIWs to people who are working on AI, for example. But from the statistics posted by USCIS, what we're seeing is a drop in the acceptance rate down to 65%. So that direction didn't help much, which shows the nature of the direction. It's not binding, it's just suggestive to the president.
Much, Amin, for your answer. And also, I would like to ask and being a little specific about what specific changes to evidentiary requirements for EB2 and IW petitions can we expect under a Trump's administration based on past policies?
Yeah, so that takes us back to the matter of Donosar. So the matter of Donosar as a landmark case actually places all the evidentiary requirements that are required for EB2 NIW, uh, and basically, if we complied with the case law, which is matter of Donasar, and the ENA Act, we complete the case correctly. So there is no say of a president here. It's all legal work. It's all decided by a court. We cannot bypass a court. President cannot bypass a court. The court itself may revisit the decision if it wants, but at the moment, it has been existing since 2016. The matter of Donasar. Before then, we had a case called New York State Department of Transportation. So we have multiple case law that basically a body of case law precedents that actually put forward the evidentiary requirements for EB2 and IW petitions. We never rely on what the president says or what the president did not say. We rely on case law, we rely on the law itself for regulations, and we have to comply, us and USCIS officers. If a USCIS officer might be subjective somehow, he or she might actually make a decision that is not relying on the regulations. And in that situation, the correct action is usually an appeal. Or a motion to reopen, of course. So it's just a matter of complying with regulations. I do not believe.
Um, Amin, can you hear us? I think due to some reason he might got disconnected. But there's no problem, friends. Still you can continue posting your questions, and we are definitely going to take them for an hour as Amin Yacoub is with us for an hour. So till the time Amin will come back, we will try to have him back again with this episode. But you don't go anywhere. We'll be coming back with another short break. So don't forget to join us here. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I'm back
Uh,
now.
no, no worries, no worries. I mean, not to worry anything about it. So, yeah, I was saying, everyone that Amin will be back again with a very insightful discussion as we were going on. So, Amin, please go ahead and continue with your insightful information. We would love to
Yeah.
hear.
So where did it go off so that I can continue from where I stopped?
That's okay. You can give a brief about it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I think the last question was, would Trump be able to actually influence the okay, now I see.
yeah.
So what specific changes to evidentiary requirements for EB2 and AW petitions? Again, I said briefly, based on past policies, he only can give directions, but for specifically EB2 and IW applications and EB1A. For EB2 and IW applications, we have to rely on the matter of Donasar, which is produced by a court. So only a court can revisit that landmark case. No one else can actually change it. A president cannot interfere with the court decision and produce another decision. So that's regarding the evidentiary requirements for EB2 and IW, and also the regulations in place. They're actually an extract from the ENA Act, which was passed in 1990. Again, it's not expected from the president under the Constitution to have the authority, which he doesn't have, obviously, to actually change something in the ENA Act itself by direct will. So if that needs to change, the Congress has to change it. Now, what remains is the EB1A, which is not a part of the question, but I can cover it. EB1A is also placed by the ENA Act. So again, Congress will have to change the law for us to actually change the evidentiary requirements. Now, what the USCIS officers might actually have from Trump's side is, please broaden your interpretation of the law a little bit, or narrow it. And I believe what we're going to be seeing, according to what he said multiple times regarding legal immigration, and that he is pro legal immigration, and also because now we would have Elon Musk, who's an immigrant himself in his administration, we will be seeing broadening of that interpretation of those evidentiary requirements that are put forward by the law itself, the ENA Act, and the matter of Danasar court decision.
Amin, I would like to ask from you that you are saying that we are going to see a broader aspect. We will be seeing more opportunities, for EB1 or for everyone. So I would like to know it from you that how can you explain it in a bit that how we can see a broader opportunities, because most of the time we are seeing that Trump is trying to implement this and trying to reduce or making the immigration process a little lengthy. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I will use some data, but I don't think I can share the screen here, but it's accessible. You can just type in Google USCIS statistics based on EB2 NIW. So you're going to find the graph going up in 2017, 2018, 2019 of the number of petitions, EB2 NIW petitions, and EB2 NIW approvals under
Amin,
Trump.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but if you want to share your screen, you can also do that. Or you want us to share, then you can share the link in this private chat and we can share it from our side.
Yeah, okay, sure. Just give me
Yeah,
1 second.
yeah, sure. You
So
see,
here's
will be
here's the
clear.
link.
Yeah, you
This
can
is
share.
just one statistics, but we have multiple statistics as well.
Mhm.
We can go through this one, and
Yeah, I think control, if you could please show this data. Yeah, I think we
yeah,
can.
can I control it? Can you scroll down a little bit? So yes, zoom in. So we have here 2017 as well was up. If we looked at here, it's going to be 2017, 2018, 2019 under Trump. And then 2020 was the COVID. And then 2021, Biden's administration. And then 2023, we're still in Biden's administration. Now we're going to see that the blue line, which is the receipt, EB2 NIW, or EB2 category in general, receipts, is still going up. But the green line, which reflects the approvals, is starting to go down under Biden's administration of 2023. In 2024, it went down even below. So what we're seeing here, except of course in 2020, which is an exception, is a rise in the petitions and a rise in approvals under Trump in 2018 and 2019, and in 2017 as well, based on another statistics. And if we can you go down a little bit? I want to show you something else. Yeah, next page, please. The one below this. The one below this. Yes, here. So here we're looking at the O1 petitions, for example, STEM and non-STEM related. So they kept going forward and upwards since Trump, again, they had a hiccup in 2021, went went bad a little bit, and then it went up again. So O1 is not as influenced as EB2 NIW and EB1A because they're non-immigrant visas. So we're not going to be seeing the same difference on E2s, O1s, and L1s as we're going to be seeing a difference on EB2 NIW and EB1A because they allow people to get green cards, basically. Can you go to the next page, please? Next page. Yes, here. So here we actually see approval rates. If you could zoom in a little bit, it's towards the right right end of the table. So 2018, that was under Trump, that was 97%. In 2019, that was 97%. That's for EB2 in general, but it's included. The NIW is included in there. You would actually see the petitions included in all of this. In 2020, we have a high percentage rate, but then it dropped down towards the end of the table to in 2023 down to 90%. Again, that's including the EB2 petitions that are sponsored by an employer, not only the national interest waiver. And that was published by USCIS. It's not like something that I drafted for this live stream. So if we just took a look at the data, we're not going to be finding a source that would actually collaborate the statement that Trump's era was bad for EB2 NIW and EB1A, especially. Maybe it was a little bit stricter when it comes to the H-1Bs, which I agree with, but it's not the same for EB2 NIW and EB1A. And I do not believe there is any reason to actually think that Trump's coming back would actually make things worse, because they haven't. So why would I be convinced that Trump would actually come and say, well, let's change it to 40%? So why didn't he do the same thing in the past administration if he wanted to do it? So it's kind of unconvincing to me. And based on what I said, again, the court has to change its decision. And I don't believe that's going to be happening anytime soon. Congress has to change the law. And I don't think that will be happening anytime soon either.
All right. I think that's great and that's very well explained. And thank you so much, for the data also, because that's pretty much very clear from our side also. And we can see the stats. So with this, we can have a clear picture about it. So again, thank you so much, Amin, for that. And meanwhile, I would also like to, greet our viewers, Ram, Jitendra, and Maisha. These are lovely viewers who has joined us for today's episode. So I think welcome to everyone. And here we have a question from our viewer from LinkedIn. That is, at the moment, how long average time to process EB1A and EB2 NIW?
Yeah, so regular processing usually takes 8 months up to 12 months for both EB1A and EB2 NIW. If someone would like to have a premium process, they have to pay an additional 2,805 to USCIS, and that would actually allow them to receive a decision in 15 days for EB1A and in 45 business days for EB2 national interest waiver. So a decision means an RFE, an approval, or a denial. So it does not mean that they're going to get an approval faster, or like they're going to get so a decision can be very general. What usually happens is a premium process, especially for EB2 and NIW, would actually, and EB1A as well, would actually influence USCIS officers to produce RFEs. And it has been the case since, I would say, last year, middle of last year. And that's because the applications went up. Again, we have to consider that everyone who came through the borders, illegal immigrants, they stood in the same line before USCIS, but from the asylum side, because we have two types of asylum: the affirmative asylum for people coming through the borders in a port of entry, like an airport, using their passports and a U.S. visa, and people coming through the borders without passing through any CBP officers, without having a visa, and basically, getting their way into the U.S. borders through Mexico or anywhere else. So all these people combined, which is unfair for affirmative asylum applicants, of course, they're all in the same line before USCIS. So people are asking me and asking multiple attorneys, what's happening? Why are applications being late? And what's happening in all of this? What's really happening is whoever came into the U.S. through the borders, they're standing in the same line as everyone else. So now I-140 applicants, they're paying a fee called an asylum program fee, which is an additional $300. So the USCIS started charging the additional $300 fee, so that they actually try to do whatever it takes to hire more officers to get the process going, because we have more than 4 million people who came into the U.S. through the borders undocumented. So what I'm saying here, or what I'm trying to get at, is if Trump really stopped whoever coming through the borders undocumented and only allowed legal immigration, things are expected to go faster in 2 years or 3 years, because we already have millions of people before USCIS. So it takes some time to actually finish the cases that the extra cases that they have, the frivolous asylum cases, and so on. So right now, as I said, just to summarize briefly, it's just 8 months up to 12 months regular process, and 45 days premium process for EB2 national waiver, 15 days premium process for EB1A.
All right. So thank you so much, Amin, for answering this question, and thank you so much, my Cho, also for participating in today's session. In case if you still have any follow up question or would like to know about any other topic related to immigration, then please go ahead and dial on this number, and you can also give a call on this number and can also participate in today's session. And you can also comment us with any other different topic or any other follow up question that you would like to ask from our today's attorney. All right, so now I would like to take Jitendra's question, and he's saying that I'm a physician applying for an EB2 NIW based on serving underserved communities. Could changes to the program's national interest definition under Trump affect how these cases are judged?
Um, U.S. will always welcome physicians, especially if you're focused on underrepresented people or underdeserved communities. And there is always, of course, I have to note here, a shortage is not a reason for the EB2 NIW eligibility, because it's covered under the perm process regulations. So if you are sponsored and you have a full-time job offer and you're basically before the Department of Labor doing the labor certification, what we call the perm process, there is an exception for having a shortage in your field. So the argument, the same argument does not apply for a waiver. But what I'm saying is a waiver is actually not relying on the shortage, but it's relying on you serving those kind of communities. So that's different. But what I'm here, if you want to apply as a physician, your chances of approval would be really high, because USCIS really appreciates doctors and physicians, especially if you're really about to serve, or you have a proposal to serve the underdeserved communities or people who are being basically without doctors. But again, even though it sounds the same, we're not going to be arguing the shortage. We're going to be arguing that you're going to be serving those kind of communities, which is kind of different.
Absolutely. I think healthcare is the most important sector in any nation, and that's like a backbone of any country.
Yeah.
So I think that's very well explained. I mean, from your end, and to Jitendra also, if you want to know any other topic or if you have a follow up question, then please go ahead and feel free to comment us on this session. All right. So, I mean, I would also like to ask about, are there any specific fields or professions that may be favored or disadvantaged under a Trump administration concerning EB2 NIW and EB1A applications?
I wouldn't say fields or professions. I would actually say how the case is prepared. So if someone is trying to argue that basically they're going to be a management consultant, but they're not going to be contributing to any specific field. They're just going to be a management consultant. That's not good enough. The proposal endeavor, of course, has to be very, very specific. It has to highlight how it would actually bring the difference in the U.S. To what sector or sectors, and technically, how would that happen? How would it cause that kind of difference and impact on that sector? So anything that is not specific enough would probably be denied. It's not really about the field itself, it's about the specific proposed endeavor. And if you do have a specific proposed endeavor in even arts, that would be accepted as opposed to having a very general proposed endeavor in being a physician or in being an engineer. So it's not about STEM versus non-STEM. It's not about being an engineer or a doctor or an artist or a theater production, company or whatever. It's about the specificity of the proposed endeavor and how can we convince a USCIS officer that you have already had some success in the past, which we should have prove in the petition, of course, and all the documents, and that you're aligning your education and professional experience and past contributions to your proposal endeavor in the future, which will bring in that difference, which is going to make America a better country in the future, or even a sector in the US a better sector in the future through business or scholarship.
Right. And we really hope that America becomes great again, as Trump says, and that's how America feels. So, all right. We also have another viewer, Knife here, and Knife is saying hi. Hi, Knife. And the question that Knife has is: do you think that Trump government can be doing all what he talking, and if not, what are the challenges?
I don't think Trump will be able to do so because we have laws here. The Constitution, you have to understand that the U.S. is a democracy, right? So its rule of law is dominant here. So Trump cannot be a one man who's doing everything. So we have the judiciary, and we have the Congress, and we have the president. So three branches of the government. They have checks and balances, of course. The Constitution says or documents basically the relationships between all of them. So Trump does not have any authority to actually reverse a law that was enacted in 1990, which is the ENA Act that provides most of the immigration visas. Trump does not have the authority to reverse a court decision, which is a landmark case. It's a precedent. So a court can only revisit and reverse that decision. Trump cannot do so. He cannot basically interfere with the court judgment and say, well, I'm going to reverse it tomorrow because I feel like it. What Trump can do is give directions to USCIS and CBP officers. Now, all these directions binding. The answer is not really. They're suggestive, and they are not binding. So USCIS, and based on what I showed on the statistics, has been doing favorably. Basically approving many petitions for EB2 NIW and EB1A under past Trump's administration. So there's no reason to believe that in the next Trump's administration he's going to be doing something different. What I think is he's going to be actually broadening the visas, EB2 NIW and EB1A, to some extent, so that they accept more talented people. Because now he's having Musk in his administration as well, who is, I believe, is an EB1A or EB2 nationalist waiver himself. I would say probably he is either EB1A or EB2 NIW. Although some people argue that he's EB5, but why would he choose EB5 if there is a higher category? So, we should ask him this probably.
All right. So I would like to say, Kinfi, thank you so much, and my apologies for mispronouncing your name. But Kinfi, if you still have any questions that you would like to ask from our attorney, then feel free to post them, and we are definitely going to take them up. All right. So I mean, you are explaining fantastically about all the questions that we are taking up. Here's another thing that I would like to know from you, as you also mentioned about the border and about the security. So we all know that Tom Homan being appointed as border czar under Trump's administration. So how do you think that his approach will affect the border security, asylum policies, and immigration in the future?
So the question here is about asylum as opposed to EB2 NIW, or?
I think, okay, let's take about asylum EB2 NIW because we are taking that as a topic. So, yeah, please go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah. So again, the affirmative asylum wouldn't face many challenges in the future, in my opinion, because these people enter the U.S. legally using a visa, and they are documented. We basically USCIS can easily, in connection with the FBI, can figure out if someone is or has been a criminal or not in their home country. So it's they vet people, and vetting is important to get people in. Affirmative asylum, in my opinion, would actually go faster. People would have interviews scheduled faster than 6 years, in 2 3 years from now, because we have to again the USCIS has to decide millions of cases so that it actually creates that faster process in the future after people undocumented people came in through the borders. So that's number one regarding affirmative asylum. Affirmative asylum people who actually applied and got the CO8 legal status, which is a pending asylum interview, and they're waiting in the US legally for the interview. They shouldn't be fearing anything again because they are documented. And the first sentence in the USCIS receipt that they have received actually says you may remain in the US lawfully until you are scheduled an interview. So right now, they shouldn't be fearing any changes in anything. Also, you have to understand that from a legal standpoint, laws cannot be applied retroactively. It's unconstitutional. So even if Trump, let's say, which is I would say it's an 0.01% chance. Let's say he said, well, now I believe that I want to get rid of affirmative asylees who are living in the U.S. legally with a CO8 pending asylum interview. That cannot apply to you because you are already here. You're already having the CO8 legal status. You already have the documentation. So that probably will stop people in the future from getting the same card as you, the CO8 employment based, not employment based, it's called the EAD, employment authorization card. And that will prevent that for the future, not apply to the past or the present. So that's important to note because status quo will remain the same it is right now.
All right. So,
Yeah, just one, I think there is an interesting question here, if I may reply to it. It's by Caveat.
is saying that for EB2 NIW applicants, there's a speculation that USCIS could enforce higher education or professional thresholds. So, do you think that applicants with advanced degrees but limited publications could be at risk?
Yeah. So I wanted to reply to that question because there is a misconception that is going around that you have to have publications and citations to have an approved EB2 NIW petition. And that's not true. So we have three kinds of applicants. We have the scholar applicant for EB2 NIW. We have the entrepreneur applicant for EB2 NIW. And the entrepreneur is not expected to have any publications or citations. And we have the professional path, which is a third unexplored path somehow, which is basically someone working somewhere in the US saying, through my employment in that institution, let's say nonprofit, I will be doing some novel technique, and that novel technique will bring in the difference in the on the U.S. nationally and on the field itself, and therefore will have substantial merit and national importance to the U.S. So for the second and third paths for immigration under EB2 NIW, you wouldn't expect to have publications and citations. Only as a scholar, we would expect you to have publications and citations. So it's not going to affect you in any way right now or even in the past, since I would say the matter of Donosar, which actually reversed the New York State Department of Transportation. And the matter of Donosar said You can have a proposed endeavor that is important for the business, for entrepreneurship, for arts. So it broadened the criteria for EB2 and IW to actually cover multiple non-STEM fields and STEM fields that are not scientific or scholarly based. So that's regarding this question. Regarding the advanced degree question too, the ENA Act itself, which belongs to 1990, so it has been enacted for some time and never changed, is the one that actually states that you have to have a master's degree or a bachelor's plus 5 years of experience. No one can change the ENA Act except the Congress itself. Now, if the Congress decided to change it, that Congress needs the majority of votes, which is very, very, very difficult to get when it comes to immigration. So my answer is there is not going to be a change to the advanced degrees requirements for EB2 and IW, and there's not going to be a change or possible change for the criteria itself for non-STEM, STEM professionals, entrepreneurs, and scholars. All paths would be the same probably for the next 4 years. It would be interesting to see if he would really broaden the EB2 category or not, show his directions to USCIS officers. But otherwise, I don't believe that there's going to be much change in this practice.
Wow, that's so insightful. And okay, so thank you, Kavya, for your participation and for your question too. So here's another question, I mean, that I would like to ask: that how might the reinstatement of policies like remain in Mexico affect the asylum seekers' chances of success in their application?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So if that person is Mexican, for example, and he or she has a visa and they can come into the U.S. Through a legal way, then probably they wouldn't face much challenges. Now, if that person wants to come illegally into the U.S., probably that statement will apply to them. Now, if that person is not Mexican, and let's say he or she is from Argentina and they traveled to Mexico and they wanted to come through the borders, Mexican US borders, then USCIS will actually try to stop them by, again, building a wall or whatever, and that will be through the CBP officers at the borders. So if Trump changed the policy again and tried to spend a lot on building that wall, that would be number one. Number two would actually be, and he tried to do that before. Actually, he tried to sign an agreement with Mexico, which we call in immigration a third safe country agreement. If you are an Argentinian living in Mexico, uh, do asylum over there. Do not come to U.S. To do asylum, to seek asylum. And that's crazy because Mexico may not be safe for Argentinians or for even Mexicans. So he tried before to pass this kind of international agreement, and he failed. It's very difficult to do, and because Mexico is also in the NAFTA agreement, which changed to the USMCA agreement between Canada, US, and Mexico. It's very, very difficult to try to build a different agreement, especially for a safe third country, saying, well, anyone who is in Mexico on a Mexican land will have to apply for asylum in Mexico, and he or she would not be allowed entry into the U.S. So it's very, very unexpected. I hope that covers all types of people who might actually come from Mexico, whether Mexicans or non-Mexicans come into the U.S. legally and versus, of course, illegally.
Absolutely, and I think that's very well explained. So, to our viewers, also, friends, if you are navigating, your immigration journey, or have any doubts, or need any type of guidance related to immigration, then please feel free to contact Attorney Amin at the number that is provided. That is 407-578-1334. So this is the contact number that you can call him and ask your doubt. And with this, you can also email him on ayacoub@boganmonths.com. And you can also visit his website, that is www.boganmonths.com. So these were the contact details that I would like to share. And now moving ahead with my one more question, I mean that I would like to know about family-based immigration, right? So
Yeah.
now I want to know that how do you anticipate Trump's approach to family-based immigration will impact the individuals who are applying for visas or seeking asylum?
Um, Applying for visas or seeking asylum.
Mm-hmm.
So, if someone is marrying a U.S. spouse, they are allowed to adjust status based on their marriage if it's a bona fide marriage. So if it's a good faith marriage, of course, and we could prove that, that you can actually skip all the asylum process, you can skip all the visa process, and completely go ahead and apply for the I-130 and the I-485, I-765, I-130 and one, and basically get all the cards you can get in the least period of time possible under USCIS. So family-based immigration is highly recommended if you do have an American spouse, or if for example you have a father or a mother who is a U.S. citizen. Now it differs from, again, it's just the categories are different. So you would have a first preference for the spouses, father and mother, and first preference is actually for the spouse. Second preference is for the mother and father. Third preference will go towards sons and daughters, and fourth would be the brothers and sisters. So the lower the preference, the more years you would have to wait. Otherwise, there is no interrelation between visas or seeking asylum and family-based immigration. We can see some cases where basically a person who is applying for asylum in the middle, having a CO8 card, for example, pending asylum, waiting for the interview, he may actually marry someone in the process. And just by marrying an American citizen, that will completely change matters into getting the green card through marriage, not through the asylum process. And later on, after they have the green card, they can basically send a letter to USCIS and ask USCIS to withdraw their asylum case and basically go ahead and do the green card through the marriage-based immigration, which is family-based. Otherwise, there is no foreseeable impact on these types of visas.
Absolutely. And I mean, I would like to know from your side that it's almost 1 hour that we have reached. But I have some more questions from my Facebook group. So if you have some time, is it okay for you to give 5 to 10 more minutes to our audience?
Yeah, sure. 10 minutes are okay.
All right, that's pleasure. Okay, so I mean, we can see here. I hope you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I see it.
Yes.
So, what a
Yeah.
pending EB2 NIW affects you when getting H-1B visa? Waiting time can acquire H-1B while there is a pending EB2 G1 holder. Thanks, Burden. Yeah. So that's an interesting question. So the H-1B especially is a different breed of visa. So we call it a double or a dual intent visa. It's an immigrant and non-immigrant at the same time. And that basically means there is no contradiction whatsoever between the H-1B and EB2 NIW, because EB2 is an immigrant visa. So applying for a double intent visa like the H-1B at the same time was applying for EB2 national interest waiver, which is an immigrant visa, that does not show any contradiction in any intent. So you can go ahead and apply for the H-1B and also apply for the EB2 NIW. But the trick here is to maintain your legal status through the H-1B, because otherwise you may actually fall out of legal status since the dates are not current yet for the EB2 NIW. Meaning that if you got an I-140 approved, you would have to wait some time before you can apply for a green card and a combo card. So that means between the approval and applying for a green card, you would need to maintain legal status through the H-1B. So it would be highly recommended to actually go ahead and secure an H-1B before you apply for the EB2 national interest waiver.
All right, that's wonderfully explained. And here's another question that is do we need to submit ETA 9089 and related for EB2 NIW self petition?
Yes, it's a part of the regulations. So even though it sounds and it reads like it shouldn't be submitted, because it's basically a labor certification application for the perm process, you must submit it. You have to complete specific sections in the 9089 form. Right now, they have produced a new one, so you would have to download the new version and use it. And once you comply with the regulations and fill it out and sign properly, you have to include it in the submission. Otherwise, you will probably get an RFE requesting you to do so.
All right. So, moving ahead, here's another question that before submitting or mailing the petition, do we need to create an online account on USCIS?
No, you don't need to create an online account on USCIS. I would say it would be helpful to do so, but you don't have to. You're not required to establish an online account on USCIS. Now, it's helpful because it allows you to track the case, to actually get notifications whenever something is going on. If they updated your case, for example, into decided or approved or issued an RFE, you will get notified if you do have a USCIS account. Now, if you're doing this through an attorney, your attorney would actually have access to your case and would actually get the notification from USCIS on your behalf. So you don't have to do it if you have an attorney. You have, I would recommend doing it if you're doing this on your own and would like to stay updated regarding any changes that may happen to your case.
Absolutely. I think taking expert advice is mandatory in immigration process. So, friends, if you still, need any guidance or need any help, then here's the contact details of our attorney that is mentioned, and you can see the contact details like phone number, email ID, and also the website that is being provided on the screen. So, please go ahead and share your, any information or any doubts that you have, and I'm sure that attorney Amin Yacoub is definitely going to take them up and he's going to solve them. All right. So, I would like to ask a few more questions, if you allow. That is,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, that's great. And I don't know why. Yeah, that's great. My screen is visible now. So, which part of the ETA 9089 need to be filled for EB2 NIW? I have already filled in the Appendix A and final determination forms.
Yeah, that's all what you need to actually provide for the new version. So it's just final determination and the appendix A. So basically, education, experience, certification, skills, which is appendix A, and then the two pages where you have to sign basically as the beneficiary, and that's all. And the preparer, of course. So you would have to sign. If you prepared your own 9089, you would have to sign twice on the two-page towards the end.
All right. So I think that's all from my end because I have covered a few questions that I wanted to ask from you. And yeah, I think, I mean, it's almost time for our very insightful session. And it's just 1 hour we passed and we didn't even realize. So from my side, it was a very, amazing, a wonderful experience and obviously an honor to have a show with you. And you were outstanding. You were clear. You made up a very great points that that was very insightful and that was very eye opening too with the datas and with all the facts and stats that you brought up. That was great. So how was your experience in today's episode? How it was?
It was amazing. I really enjoyed my experience, and I actually really enjoyed the questions as well. They're very, very interesting questions
All right.
from your side and from the audience side as well. It was really a pleasure being here, and thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. And I think the questions, those were, interesting, but even the answers, those two were very much interesting. So I like that too. And there's another comment from Freelance Mastery also.
Yeah,
So,
let's do that as the last question and move
all
on.
right, that's
Yeah.
great. So it's that what if my case was submitted under Biden's administration and got adjudicated when Trump's administration? Which administration am I entitled to?
Yeah. So probably that question has to do with the importance of the proposed endeavor than which administration would actually adjudicate the case, because they're the same USCIS officers. People think that, again, Trump is going to remove all USCIS officers and replace them with other USCIS officers. So they're just the same officers deciding the same cases under the same legal framework, whether under Biden or Trump. But your question might have a hidden question, which is there is a difference in the importance of there's a difference in the importance of policies between Biden's administration and Trump's administration. For example, solar energy is very, very important for Democrats and for Biden's administration, but it may not be as important under Trump's administration. So, since you have filed your case under Biden's administration, your case should be aligned with Biden's administration's importance when it comes to policies regarding solar, etc. Again, these are not black and white. So you have to understand that Trump is not like he's not going to dismantle the solar energy when he arrives. Again, like the biggest producer of electric cars is by his side right now. So we actually that's why.
I think due to some reason, Emin, can you hear us?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying, last thing I wanted to say is um, the, there is not going to be a huge difference in policies and the importance of those policies, because right now Trump is more convinced of not solar but basically clean energy and stuff like that. But he's not willing to sacrifice oil and gas either. So we're going to be seeing a new Trump administration basically focusing on all energies, probably nitrogen as well. He talked about nitrogen cars, but he said, well, they're risky. So now that Musk is on his side, probably we'll be seeing a different approach towards electric cars, towards solar energy, and towards policies that Trump was in the past kind of reluctant to accept as important. Otherwise, to answer your question directly, your application will be decided based on the policies that are considered important at the time your application was received. So when you have received your USCIS receipt under Biden's administration, that's the time limit, that's the time estimate where actually the officer has to look around and say you have complied, you're actually contributing to an important policy under Biden, not Trump.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, yeah, I think, I mean, we also took the last question of today's episode, and that too very well explained. So, again, to our viewers, also, guys, if you are navigating any immigration journey or having any doubts, then please go ahead and contact our attorney, and he's definitely going to help you out. And I mean, from my side, as I also said, that it was a wonderful experience to have a show with you. And you were also saying that you also enjoyed the questions that we prepared, the audience they were asking. So big thank you to attorney Amin Yacoub for making this session a brilliant one and bringing a very insightful and a very eye-opening stats and facts about today's topic. And I think, yeah, that's all, and to our lovely viewers also who participated in today's webinar, thank you so much to everyone. Keep on posting your question, friends, and we are definitely going to keep them on asking and try our level best to provide a best solution to you. So thank you so much, everyone, for this amazing session. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm Sam, signing off for now.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Have a good
much.
day. Bye bye.